Welcome to the Create Today podcast. This show is all about how you can create the life that you love one day at a time. I'm your host, Karen Stanley. My beautiful guest is Christina Schofield. She's a physical therapist, but not exactly physical therapy, and she's going to tell us all about it. Thank you so much for being here, Christina.
Thank you for having me, Karen. I've been looking forward to this.
Me too. She's my physical therapist, and she's not exactly normal, quote unquote, the traditional physical therapy. And I want her to explain what it's like because it really works. But I want to hear about your journey. How did you eventually get to this specific method?
Right.
And let's start with your athlete days. You were a gymnast. I didn't realize that.
No. So the gymnast stuff is more recent. In my
That's
30s,
recent? No way.
Yes. So very originally, I just had an older brother and I did everything he did. Like he played football. I went to football practice and threw the ball back to them so they could run their drills. Or him and his friends would be practicing street hockey, football, baseball, you name it. I just wanted to be cool like my brother. Mm-hmm. So I just got used to doing everything. And then I got into basketball in middle school. But by high school, well, I was my height by age 11, 5'6". And then no one else, I didn't grow, everyone else did.
Dang it.
So then I was a little guard by the time I got to high school.
Yeah.
And I decided, hey, I'll do cross country, get in shape, roll straight into basketball season. Well, then I got injured. Pulled my glute max.
Ouch.
Once I did try to start running again, then I had really bad knee tendonitis. They said, just don't run for a year. I'm like, okay. So
How do you not run and play basketball? You didn't play any sports?
no, so then I couldn't do anything for a year. And that's how I got into the gym. I couldn't do my sport. I didn't want to go home after school. So there was a gym down the street so I could go lift. I had a couple friends that would go there, do like some spin classes or stuff like that. So did that for a year, go back to cross country, try to start running again. And I still have pain. And again, no one really knew what it was. Actually, I think they did. I think that time they actually found a stress fracture.
Oh.
So their solution in my tibia is, hey, just don't run for a year.
How does that solve the problem?
Yeah, they said it's really, really bad. Normally it doesn't show on x-ray, but yours is. So it's a really bad one.
Sweet.
So you need to take off a year.
Okay.
So I do that. I go back to start running again as a junior. And guess what? I still hurt because nobody's done anything to address anything that's actually wrong. So I never played basketball in high school because I was always in pain. The junior year, I only ran one cross country meet even because I was just in so much pain. I forget at what point they just told me like to stop running. And then by senior year, I go out for cross country and I just decide I'm just going to be the slowest person in the back. I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to run my 3 miles like for my cardio every day and then go do my lifting. Like, I don't need this. And I already had decided I was going to do a bodybuilding competition right after I graduated. So I was following my diet. I lost 25 pounds between junior and senior year.
Wow.
So I was like, that's just going to be my cardio, see my friends, and then I'll go lift, and then that's it. But I actually was able to complete the whole season. During meets, I would push hard. And everyone would get mad because I'd be passing them in meets, but I was the slowest person at practice.
Wow.
But
so did you still have pain even doing it that way?
Doing it that way, I was able to complete it where since I wasn't really pushing myself, it wasn't hurting me.
Okay. That's amazing.
It was just weird how I just always had pain, even tried going out for track for 3 years. I never ran a meet. I always had crazy shin splints or something going on where I just couldn't do it.
Right.
And this is really kind of what got me into what I'm doing now. I always had pain. They'd put me through regular PT. They'd tell me to do all the things the medical, world wants you to do, but I would never get better. And then fast forward to me being into PT school, I still had knee pain. I still had things going on. And I would try some other types of therapy. One was postural restoration. It's based on like, your respiration and how it creates different compensations throughout the whole body, kind of.
Just from breathing?
Well, the natural little asymmetries within the body can throw you off, and using breathing during the exercises to get you better. And that's where I got like the most headway, But again, my knee was still hurting.
Oh my gosh.
And then now I'm a practicing PT, still with pain all the time. So then I tried to get the knee scope, try to do things to help it. Well, those still wouldn't help.
Were you doing PT school at the same time you were doing bodybuilding? Is this happening simultaneously?
So I did bodybuilding in undergrad.
Oh, okay.
And then once I was in PT school, it's 36 hours in class. So there was no time for any of that. Okay. But I would still just go to the gym after and taught like kickboxing and fun stuff.
How was it, your bodybuilding career?
What
was the experience like? Because
it was fun.
Never done it.
I mean, all amateur. But again, it was during undergrad. I had a really good job working for like a Lockheed Martin company. So I made good money. So I had lots of money for all the supplements and competition fees and everything. It was nothing I could ever see feasible with like a family and thinking about, oh, my daughter's college career.
Right.
It just kind of seemed selfish to me. I know other people can make it work. But so it was fun at that time in my life. But then I knew, I had to go on to things that are going to pay off in the future. Yeah. And that was school and building career and those other things.
Nice.
So it was fun at the time. I did my undergrad at University of New Mexico and then grad school at NAU.
Oh, well, that's so cool. So that's how you came to Arizona.
Yeah.
Because you were born and raised in New Mexico, right?
Yes, in Albuquerque.
Yeah. My grandparents are from Las Cruces. Well, my mom is too. Yeah. And so we went to New Mexico a lot. But not very often to go up to Albuquerque, but I have been there several times.
Yeah. I'd only recommend the balloon fiesta.
I know. I have always wanted
really
to go to that.
There.
Yeah. Okay. So your knee still hurts. You're doing scoping. You're in PT school.
Well, at that point,
you're
I'd
done.
even graduated.
Okay. You graduated.
So I got a first knee scope done. And I remember being at the 12-week follow-up, just complaining it still hurt. And the doctor's just kind of like, well, I don't know what to say, and such a great doctor. Like, I know it wasn't his fault. And all my patients would get better fast and do better, but just like, why wasn't I? Weird. But I got it, good enough to keep living my life. And then a couple years later, it really just started giving out all the time again. So they scoped it again. And from there, they said, your knee is so bad, you're going to need a knee replacement. And I was 30.
That's insane.
30 at that point. I'd done strengthening now for 15 years since I started the gym at 15. I'd been in PT school. I'd been doing all the right things, as they say, but now I needed a knee replacement. So,
did you ever figure out the cause? Why did your knee deteriorate so much? Is there a cause of it?
Well, from what I know now, in terms of how much effect the scars will have on the body, I did fall on my knee at the age of 7 and get a scar. And the body work that I do, the number one priority looks at those scars and how it creates those chronic compensations of shutdown from the trauma. So I believe that scar shut down my quad and the way my knee tracked properly to contribute to this breakdown so fast.
Wow.
But most people don't look at scars and they don't see that as a trauma. They just say, it healed, you're good. But there's so much more.
Yeah. Like you said, when we first started talking, it was about John and his open heart surgery. She's like, and Christina was like, dude, that's a major scarring. It can cause a whole lot of other kind of a ripple effect, right?
Yep.
Which we don't ever really think about. I never thought about it before until you said it.
Right.
So, but didn't you have both knees replaced?
Not replaced, just the one.
Oh, okay.
So I put it off for 2 years with rock tape and then getting the type of therapy that I do. And
how did you find him?
So the girl that I go to, I was actually just at a continuing ed course for like primal movement patterns, just something different. And I was recovering from my 5th left foot surgery because it was infected. So it turned into 4 surgeries in 1 year. They said, we don't want to touch you as long as possible to refix it again. So I just had a Nemo fin of a flipper of a foot. It was awful for 3 years. I just went to stand up one day and I couldn't put any weight on it. So they did the MRI, had broken bones, torn ligaments, and torn tendons that I'd just been walking on for years because they said, just try to make it last. So once they finally repaired all that, I was off work recovering, went to this course, and there was a lady there, and she says, oh, I can come fix you. Just come see me. Just really confident, and it frustrated me. I said, I'm a doctor of physical therapy. Like, what are you going to do? Because I knew she wasn't. But I was off work, so I said, I'm going to give her a try. What do I have to lose?
Right.
And thank God I did. I went to her. She did her whole eval. We found the biggest problem, highest priority was my neck scar from a disc replacement I had a couple years before.
Wow.
And she told me to get up and walk after doing the proper release. And it was that first time in 3 years I was able to walk without 8 out of 10 pain every step I took. I also hadn't been able to do a calf raise or curl my toes in 3 years. So I had fallen out of my shower monthly and hit my head out of the shower just trying to shave. And she just rubbed my scar and everything was fine.
How does a scar on your neck from whenever that was affect your foot?
Yep. So it was shutting down like my core, which
Seriously?
creates like a ripple effect down with the compensations. And there are big associations with overusing your feet and overusing your neck. So the neck flexors and toes flexors have a strong correlation. People with flip-flops overflex and create other issues all the way up their body. So mine was kind of reversed. So my neck was contributing to the continued issues in my foot. Now with a couple more visits, we worked out the scar work actually in the foot, causing more there. But that was the number one thing that got my calf back on, my toes back on, was working on that neck scar. And it just like, I looked at her and I said, what did you just do to me? And how can I learn everything about it? Because
it worked.
I was like, I need to be doing this in my PT.
Yep.
I've been doing PT for years and it hasn't gotten me better.
Right.
So I need to add this in. And that's when I just changed everything how I practiced.
Wow. And is there a name for this method or this?
Yes. So
therapy?
it's called neurokinetic therapy.
Neurokinetic. And what's the best way to describe it?
So the best way to describe it is it uses muscle testing and it, finds the weaknesses or starts working out from your area of pain, area of tightness. But it's the only method that I have found where they do some kind of something to your body and they see how your body responds, if it makes you strong or if you stay weak. So with everything you do to your body, right away, wait, is this going to make me stronger? So it's looking for those neurological changes and how it affects it from any tiny little stimulus, even like moving your arm or your hand position, affecting your shoulder strength. Any little thing, your neck position can change any other body test that I'm doing, any other muscle. So using that immediate feedback on if it's going to make you strong and if it's that area that's painful is what really makes it unique.
Your body always knows.
Yep.
I think we should do a quick muscle testing demonstration because I didn't realize there are some people that don't even know what it is. I was just talking to a friend the other day talking about the chiropractor that we went to see in Utah, and he uses a lot of tools, but he uses a lot of assessments with muscle testing too. And she looked at me, she didn't know what I meant. So if anybody's on YouTube, let's just show them really quick.
Right.
What does it mean? And so what should we start with? I'll hold up my arm. What should we start with?
This would just be like your anterior deltoid. So if her arm's super straight, that way she's not compensating with bicep or anything. And she just presses up
just
lightly.
affirm that I'm really
so
super strong.
Lightly. Oh my God, Karen, you're
So strong. So
but if you just press up lightly, because we're not looking at how strong you are.
Right.
We're looking at, is that brain muscle connection like efficient? Basically.
Okay.
So hold there lightly.
Okay.
So, and it is.
Okay.
And then they do what's called a muscle spindle cell compression to make sure it's not stuck in a spasm. So I'm just going to squeeze right there and then press up again. And the fact that it goes weak means it's a normal testing muscle. If it stayed strong, you're stuck in a spasm and I have to use something else.
Amazing.
So you have to double check that muscle to start.
So are you asking yes or no questions when you're doing this? Or you're
right
looking
there
for
and just asking if it's strong. So are you strong? And then can I use you with that muscle spindle cell compression? Yes, I can. So from here, I can use any yes or no question to you at all. So I can say, is your name Karen? Press up. You're strong. Is your name Christina? No. Are you married?
She pushed my arm right down.
Are you married to John? Are you married to Tony?
No, Christina's married to Tony.
That's my husband.
So when the answer is no, I cannot hold my arm up.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to explain what muscle testing, because you and I have known about it forever.
Right.
And so I just think it's so fascinating and a lot, and you can use muscle testing for all kinds of things and you can learn to use it on yourself. Even the first demonstration I ever saw in my entire life was 2009. and it was a speaker, an event conference that I went to, and he was holding up things that we couldn't see. He, always to do the demonstration to show people how it works. You pick the biggest, strongest guy and biggest muscles ever. So you would never think that he's weak.
Yep.
He's not. So the biggest, strongest guy, 300 pounds and, shit brick house, 6'5", is the one that they always choose. And because they're so strong, and you give him an envelope, and he was like, all right, so try to hold an arm up. But we didn't know what was in the envelope, and just went, he couldn't hold his arm up. Mm-hmm. Guess what was in the envelope? Saccharin. It was artificial sweeteners. Yep. And so that's how you know what something is good for your body or not. And I was blown away. So the first time I ever seen it, that's why I wanted, just in case you don't know what muscle testing is, it's such a strong tool, and your body always knows the answer.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. So I'll do even food intolerance testing with my patients, or picking out emotions that they may be holding in and embodying, contributing to their pain. That way you can then switch around and find like a positive affirmation that's going to counteract that's going to help them with their healing with whatever muscle and body work that I do.
Incredible. You're doing it all. So really healing the whole body. Talk about emotional, when we hold on to an emotion and then you find it, tell us what happens, or some of your other patients that have had the emotion, you've helped them release it. Are they aware of it, or walk us through that process?
They're not aware of it. So they normally are coming to me for some kind of a chronic issue. So like, their shoulder hurts.
Almost always pain.
Yeah. It's like, it's their left shoulder. Okay. So left shoulder, day 1, left shoulder, day 2, left shoulder, day 3, a week apart. And the pain's kind of moving around. It's not staying in the same exact spot. That would mean maybe the muscle's torn or something. I would need to refer them out. But it's just kind of moving all around, but always giving them the same complaint. Well, from there, I might say, okay, well, what else is going on? What stress is going on? You're like, you're just found out you're going to get divorced, or it's some of those bigger issues normally come up. And, when did this start? Right after this issue started. So a lot of times we can kind of draw those parallels. There are some different like muscle testing programs I can use called like emotion code or body code that can much deeper kind of delve in and pick it out. So like, I know you're suffering from feeling unworthiness. And then I just mentioned that word, and they just like, oh my gosh, yes, because blah, blah, blah. And they just kind of word vomit it out. And from there, again, find that positive affirmation to help them with it. You can run, some magnets, just like it would take the security code off of a credit card, try to clear it out of their nervous system. And then you can retest to see if you cleared it or not, or if they're even ready to clear it. Sometimes they aren't ready.
Right.
So you can't do anything except, tell them to be aware of that.
My mom has a dear friend with alopecia, and it started literally the same week that she had a major falling out with her only daughter, and her daughter stopped talking to her.
Yeah.
And what trauma. She never had any of it's so crazy how emotions affect your physical body. Yep. And making that connection and trying to find where emotions are stored. That's one of the things that the chiropractor did on John last month when we went to, or 2 weeks ago when we went to Utah to see him. He did a type of the same thing, emotionally releasing it, bring it up. He was doing testing to see what age, what emotion. So once he got down to, age 4, and then the emotion was fear. And then what's going on when you're 4 years old? It was just like, this huge release that I think, especially for men, they don't have a habit of, or they don't have any experience or practice literally talking about things and processing them.
We're taught to keep it in.
Right. And I was taught to keep it in too. So it's not just men.
Right. Yep.
But I feel like it's most men and then some women. At least we have girlfriends where we can actually talk about things. And, I've done a lot of talk therapy, but man, it's so powerful to find the emotion where it is in the body, and using at least, there's a few different tools you can use, right? But you come see Christina, and then you can let that go, and then you can be free from pain. It's really hard to believe that. I think for some people that works. You're alleviating shoulder pain by finding an emotion that was created. What?
Right.
And it sounds crazy to some people. it doesn't to me because I've seen it.
Yeah.
And I've seen the effects over the years of something similar. And then now we've gone to Christina. You can see the effects of, isn't it amazing? Isn't the body amazing?
I say the more I learn about it, the more I realize I don't know.
Right.
So for a doctor to come out and admit something like your typical medical doctor, oh no, they're the expert. They know everything. But honestly, every course I go to, everything I learn, I realize how much more there is in the body that we have no clue about. And it's just amazing.
It is amazing. So then she helps you with your knees and your feet, and then you're feeling better. We're like instantly pain. The pain was way better that first visit.
Yeah, one visit, and it was just crazy.
It was crazy.
I think initially when I would see her, I'd follow up maybe like every 3 months, and it would just kind of be for this or that, here or there.
And she was here in town, right? Tempe or something?
Yep. And then as my knee got really bad, I'd start to see her more to help put that surgery off. And then after, I feel like seeing her helped my recovery so much more. Anytime I went to regular PT, they and had a big gain, they would ask, wait a minute, have you seen your lady lately? And I would say, yeah. And they would get mad because they were hoping they got me better. But no, it was always her. Wow. And then I was able to perform better in my PT. Wow. So I tell that to everybody going through it. Hey, even come see me once a week, once every other week. It doesn't matter. Help with that muscle tightness that they're just going to try to muscle stretch you through it. I can just get your muscles to relax. And then you can easily move through that movement and feel better, feel more comfortable. So you're having an easier time in PT.
Wow. So if you have a surgery coming up, or if you have to get surgery, then it can help you recover.
Yep.
Go before and after? I mean,
before,
can't hurt, right?
Yeah, help make sure muscles are the strongest they can going in.
Yeah.
And then after, make sure the body's not spasming up and overprotecting where you're trying to work against your body. That way your body's all working together.
I want you to explain that too, because I was also blown away and I don't know how to explain it right. Of course you do. So for instance, for me, my pain is here, right in this like hip crease area. Yep. I go to a regular doctor. I get a full body MRI. They inject me with crap. I hate MRIs. I hope please let me never, ever, ever have to get one. That's so
torture device.
It's a torture device. And then they say, and they come back a week later, and it's like, it's just arthritis. I'm like, oh, I just have arthritis. I'm like 40 years old, right? I did this a few years ago. And then I come see you, and you're doing all kinds of things all the way down here, and I don't even know what you're doing. And you discovered that it was somewhere else. Now I can't remember exactly. You might not remember exactly the specifics, but so in general, so it could be pain was here, but it can be you released spasms somewhere else. Oh, it was my hamstrings.
Yeah. So all of the muscles of the hip are contributing to how that hip works. So normally where you're feeling the pain, it's just where it's compensating the hardest, basically, to make up for the real issue. So my therapy is going in there and figuring out, okay, what are these real issues going on? Every once in a while, it's that main pain complaint spot. But normally that's just,
that's the symptom.
Yes.
Not the cause.
Yeah.
Not the problem.
And a lot of time there's bigger compensators in the body. So like I said, scars are always like number one. Like go to check them out because they're going to interfere. There's two ways I like to describe them. One's like the old phone circuit boards, right? If we cut and these 10 circuits got disconnected, okay, maybe those side ones are going to find a connection on their own. But what about the other 8 in the middle? These are the muscles and the nervous system up to the brain. So when we have a scar, especially big traumas, to the trunk, John's scar, right? How many nerves were cut, interrupting how those muscles can work. Now, I mean, he's not falling over. It's not like he can't move. The muscles aren't working, but for them to have the most efficient neurological connection. So we're figuring out how to reconnect that brain-muscle connection so they're as efficient as possible so he's not sluggish through the day, getting tired when he doesn't have to be. So he is stronger in the gym and just feeling better and more vital.
Wow. It's so mind-blowing. I love this. So you're getting better. You're doing regular PT. You got your surgery, full knee replacement on your right leg.
Well, so first they did a partial.
Oh,
the partial started dislocating on me every time I straightened my knee. Every time. Every step I took, anything, it would just boop, pop out.
No.
My surgeon, he's 6'10", very big, very strong. He couldn't even hold it in place with me just lightly straightening my leg. He could not hold it in. He did not know what was going on. So then they decided to try to just put in some, I don't know if it was a cadaver graft for some ligaments to just help keep it over. And then break my tibia bone to move that knee attachment over, that tibial tuberosity, just to help with the alignment so it wouldn't keep dislocating. Within 1 month, it started dislocating again. Meanwhile, I had to be off my leg for 6 weeks because they broke my bone. So I have to wait for the bone to repair with it in a full straight cast, like brace. And then I got blood clots. So then I ended up hospitalized another 3 times and a surgery to get a filter in my chest to help prevent the blood clots from going up to my lungs or heart and killing me.
And wait, and this is all recent. This is all in the last few years.
2020.
Oh my gosh!
So,
you're
they
like
did
30,
my replacement.
You're young 30s. It's like, what in the world?
2018, and then I didn't have insurance in 2019.
God damn it.
So when I got insurance in 2020, I could finally have the issue addressed. And they said, no, we have to try this first. You're too young to get a full replacement. So let's just try this. Well, that ended up awful. 3 months after that, I started calling the Mayo Clinic to see if I could get in there. And I had the referrals from that doctor. They said, no, because you've had surgery in the last year. So they wouldn't take me on. They wouldn't even give me a visit. Well, I couldn't go and be disabled for a year. Like, I don't know what they expect me to do. I'm a single mom, live on my own with her. I mean, how am I supposed to pay my bills? So then I had to go back to my surgeon, find a couple other names of doctors. One of them I had worked with before, so I felt comfortable kind of reaching out to him and was, eventually able to get that scheduled.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of emotional trauma, being a single mom for a long time.
Oh, yes. It really is.
It really is. And
it's very hard.
What was your, for this practitioner, the first one that you went to that helped you so much, was any of that emotional, with any of those emotions involved in any of your injuries, or did she pinpoint any of that? I'm just curious.
That's never come out in that emotional work. It's funny because the first time we ever did it, she just told me grief from when you were 16. And she's like, so what happened? And I was like, oh, my grandpa died.
Oh.
So the way that she was able to pinpoint something so specific to something so, significant, without her knowing that any aspect of me like that was
to know. Yeah.
The way that I knew I could kind of trust what that brings up. Other things that's brought up, I had like a sexual harassment issue at work back in 2013. That was something I had to get worked out.
Did you sue him?
No, because I had switched phones and I had to send in that old phone.
With all the evidence.
With all the evidence. So I had no evidence. So HR's solution was for us to just keep working together and pretend like nothing happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a great HR department.
That's when I started looking for a different position.
Right.
Different
That's
company.
Insane.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
It was bad. And because there were so many incidences that I just kept tolerating. And it was my first job.
Right.
I didn't want to just seem like naggy, like girl, like I can't handle being part of the team. Mm-hmm. But then I started realizing the only time he would make those comments were when the other PT wasn't there, when there weren't those witnesses to what was going on. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we were always kind of joking around, but it would always go a little overboard. I realized, he's very manipulative, and when he does this. Mm. And then the text messages started coming, but then I didn't have that phone to back up what I had to tell HR.
Damn.
So.
Wow. And so this is, several years later, 7 or 8 years later, and obviously moved on. You probably didn't even really think of it at all, right?
I just, that hard time in 2013.
Yeah,
but
what
it's
a dick.
just such a blip in my history. Yeah. And it just came up one day, okay, what happened? I forget what emotion came up, but in 2013, I said, oh, crap, it was that sexual harassment issue.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you're able to, can you feel it leaving? Can you feel differently after you kind of do the release or whatever the technique that she's doing? Or just feel different?
That one, no. No, I think just kind of bringing that awareness to it.
That's the most important thing.
Trusting that it's leaving me. There is a different therapy that a friend does called a quantum alignment therapy, where he uses different pads that helps, realign organs or, my knee to the brain or to remove emotional trauma. That one I can actually feel when it's cleared.
Wow.
So he said, he'll put the pads on me and say it can take up to a minute or two, depending on how bad it is in that spot. But I could feel it in my stomach. I'd say, oh no, it's cleared. We can move on. We can go to the next one.
Yeah.
And I don't think he'd ever had someone so in tune to let him know, oh, nope, we're cleared now. So it was pretty cool.
It's very similar to what we do in hypnotherapy, is that we find the root cause, and it's always a developed belief from the thing that happened.
Right.
And that you carry it with you for the rest of your life. And so you're, 40 years old and you're dealing with this thing over here, or this symptom over here, or this fear, or whatever. It's almost always because of a belief that you developed in childhood. It's 95% of the time. Sometimes it's more recently, recent stuff, people going through some trauma. But then as soon as you say, I've been holding on to this is the reason why, how is this related to the problem today at age 40, whatever. Oh, and this big, huge aha moment happens. And then you go, then where is it in your body? And then is it ready to go? And almost all of them, they're ready to go. And they could just 100 pounds just got lifted off their shoulders.
Yeah.
And, then you listen to the recording. In my practice, you listen to the recording and you're solidifying the new beliefs, the transformation, just specific to you. So it's very similar, and I've never heard of that type of quantum
alignment therapy.
I've never heard of that, but it's the more modalities I hear and the more modalities I learn about, there's always overlap. There's always similarities to finding the energy, finding the emotions, finding what's stuck. You can do it a bunch of different ways,
right?
But it's so fascinating to me. I'm like you. I'm ready to, I've been certified for 3 months now. I want to go, I want to learn something else. What else can I learn, Yeah. But, that's not always a good thing. Stop going to school. Let's just
practice.
Practice too. Let's just work on clients. How about that? That's awesome. Okay. So then you go through all of that. They finally allow you to have a full knee replacement. Did you do it at the Mayo?
No. Oh, because they wouldn't take
They wouldn't take. So you had to find someone else.
Yeah.
Jesus. Okay. And then what was that recovery like?
That
was gnarly.
So awful. Because at that point, I'd gone through multiple surgeries in those last few years and just been really, really weak. But everyone tells me, oh, you're young, you're going to heal fast. No, it sucked. It sucks more because I'm so young. I've been so limited that people have been blowing me off and thinking I'm okay. Just because I'm young. No, my knee looks worse than the 80-year-old I was. So it looks worse. And now I've been ignored for years and been slowly getting weaker because no one will do anything about it. I mean, I'm doing as much as I can with strengthening, but that wasn't getting too far, right? The normal physical therapy technique was not getting me anywhere. So once I got the surgery, they sent me home the next day. I was back in the hospital the next day after that for extreme pain, and the pain meds weren't even helping me. So then I was in the hospital for another 5 days until they were finally able to figure out which combination of meds could even help with all the pain I was having.
Oh my God.
And then I was able to get back home. Recovery was awful. Most people recover within 6 to 8 weeks, and they're great. They're doing 3 times a week physical therapy, and I've helped people, they're back to golfing within 4 weeks.
Wow.
They're doing great. My range of motion, so to get my knee back bending was very, very tight, where they had to do another surgery, put me under anesthesia, and just crack my knee bent because they thought too much scar tissue had built up by that point, where I just wouldn't get it back if they didn't just crack it. Right.
Ow.
So then I did that surgery. I had good range of motion for about a day, and then it went back really tight. Oh. So then I was just back doing the same thing. So I went through 50 physical therapy visits because that was the max my insurance allowed. And I still felt so weak, like the wind was going to blow me over if it blew.
And this is how long after your surgery?
Oh my gosh. So that was by November.
Forever.
Yeah. So 4 months out, I had a follow-up with the doctor, and I was still super weak. I could still really slow walking. So he checked me for an infection. He gave me a handicap placard. And he sent me to a pain clinic where he just wanted me to go and get all my nerves burnt so I couldn't feel the pain.
Ow.
And then the
That's
MA
what people
asked
do in pain centers?
The MA asks him, when would you like her to follow up? And he says, don't worry, she doesn't need to.
What?
Yeah, so if he's checking me for an infection, with all, like, no matter what, I should at least have a year follow-up. I just had a knee replacement. But his response was, she doesn't need to. Now, the MA, when she called me the next week to let me know I didn't have an infection, did let me know that he wants to follow up in a couple months, but I made sure to listen to advice and never follow up with him again. God. Because he wasn't helping me.
Oh,
my God. He just wanted to blow me off to a pain clinic.
It's so wild.
But that's when I started leaning back on more of the energy healers. Okay, let's see what emotions are going on. Let's just see what else we can do.
Right.
And that's when an emotion came out of being afraid to be alone. That was getting stored in there. And I had been in a relationship at that point for about 4 months.
Really?
And I realized the only reason why I was in it was because I was afraid to be alone. And going through that knee surgery, like, I figured, I'm probably going to die in like 10, 20 years. Like, this is an old people surgery.
What?
Right? My life's like not good. My quality of life isn't good. But he was just very nice and very agreeable. I mean, it worked, but it wasn't really what I needed. So after that emotional therapy, I probably broke up with him within a week. Like, I just knew, no, this is not right.
Crystal clear.
Yep. And then from there, I really felt like I became like a better me, more confident, more clearer vision in what I needed and wanted for me to not just take whatever, like, this is good enough. And then that's when when I actually started to get strong.
What?
When I changed like that mindset, even about the relationship that, I thought was just good enough. And it wasn't until then that my knee even started to get strong.
Does that like become kind of it's not good enough, or I'm not going to accept good enough? Or is that something you consciously cultivated a different, belief system, or
I haven't gradually gotten any affirmations that I like to repeat really from that. It's just I just can't believe that would have held me back so much.
Amazing.
In that way.
So you realize that your belief or the emotion that we were storing was that I don't want to be alone, which led you to be super clear about the current relationship is not what you really want and what you deserve.
Right.
And then how much longer after that did you meet Tony?
Oh, so we already knew each other.
Right. I mean, you knew each other, but until you like that first day when he actually talked to you.
Yeah. So a friend had introduced us at the gym. John's rival, the other car manager at the gym, right?
Oh, who is it?
Jack had introduced
us. Jack, yeah. Well, Jack used to work for John. I mean, John knows everybody in the car business, literally. So
we would always just say hi, and I'd say hi here and there. But then he started talking to me after he did cardio every day. This was after I was already broken up. So I was just extra chatty, right? Just happy to talk to people. And I realized things would come up that I would talk to him that I hadn't told anyone in 10 years. Oh, wait, I haven't told anybody that, actually. It was really weird just in our natural conversation. So right away, I knew something was just different. So after about a month of that, just talking really for like 20 minutes every day and passing at the gym, I asked him, what he was doing that Saturday. He'd want to hang out more.
Like he never, I'm going to give him shit about this for the rest of his life. He still never had the balls to ask her out, so she had to do it.
Well, his excuse was Christmas was a couple weeks away, and he didn't want to have to go through do I have to get her a gift or not? I'll just wait till after the holidays. But I really think he never would have done it. It's just his excuse.
So he's just like, because you're so beautiful, and he was so nervous. It's funny because our anniversary of when we first got together, our first date is December 7th. So we had exactly this same problem. So it was exactly the same time, 2 weeks before Christmas. And I was just like, I asked him what he was doing. I thought he would go see his kids, but I mean, he did, but it was like for like an hour. They go meet at the park. He had to see his dog that, he had left at home with the kids, and they would just like spend an hour and then they would go back and do their own thing. And I'm like, so wait a second. So you never take any days off. You have the day off, obviously, because you're closed on Christmas Day, and you're going to just be sitting at your own house by yourself? Right. No. That's it. You're coming to meet the family. I mean, we're doing it because you're not going to sit there. Right. I mean, we know we love each other. We were totally in love already. We'd known each other for a long time. And I'm like, well, what are we waiting for? So we're going to meet the kids on the 22nd or the 23rd, I think. And then you're coming over, mom, dad's coming over. You're going to meet the whole fam because what's the alternative?
Right.
Why? Because it's only been 2 weeks that you're not going to meet everybody? That doesn't make any sense. So I totally get what he's saying because it's weird. You just get together and there's a major holiday. What do we do? Do we meet everybody? Because it's Christmas. I'm going to be with all my family and all my kids. And nope, you're coming over.
But his story does get blown. So after Christmas, I was still the one having to ask him out.
Oh my God, come on,
So
Tony,
for I think the first 4 dates, I was asking him out. And I was like, I have Cardinals tickets. Like, I mean, like...
That was John and my first date, Cardinals game.
Mm-hmm. And then finally from there to sit him down and be like, listen, if you want a date, like I have this night and this night available, like we need to just know that we're going to be doing something. Yeah, I mean, I had to like, I'm a single mom. I can't just fly by the seam of my pants or whatever the saying is like he does. He's not a planner. So I had to sit him down like, hey, if you want this to work, like we have to plan this and this is how it's got to do it. So then he finally kind of started making
Which is probably weird. There. I mean, he's, what is he? How old is he?
I mean, he was 46 at the time.
Oh, he was already 46.
Single
I forgot.
Forever.
Yeah.
Thought he'd be single forever.
It's weird. Like, you don't need to plan anything. He's got all the time in the world.
Yeah, if I want to travel, I just go travel. He'd look at me, well, if you want to go somewhere, why don't you just plan a trip? And I'm thinking, because I'm a single mom. I have daycare. I have this. I mean, that's never been a reality for me.
10. You can't just put her in a dog crate for a week.
Just bring her with you. Well, then I have to do what she wants the whole time, right?
And it's not a vacation.
Yeah.
Oh, boys. But how would you know if you don't have any children, if you haven't been married, you've been single for so long? He wouldn't know. He doesn't know.
He just drops his dogs off with his mom and does what he wants. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's easy. Yeah. What's your problem? Why are you so so busy? Why do you have so many things you have to do? It's called children, buddy.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm so happy for you guys. My listeners don't know they just got married about a month ago. It's been a month? You made it a month yet?
So it's... Well, it's a month
Today's
and a half,
November 26th.
So technically 10/5.
10/5. That's my son's birthday. One of my sons, October 5th.
Almost at 2 months.
And my niece and my sister-in-law. We have 3 people in our family that were born on October 5th. Isn't that cool? It's a good day. It's a good open.
Yes.
That's awesome. I thought of something I wanted to ask you about the stretching. So you brought this up, and every single day at the gym, Christina does specific stretching. And I want you to talk about what's the most important thing for all of us who are getting older. I don't care how old you are now. Everybody's aging. How important the stretching is, and what specifically is the most important thing. Like if you could just narrow it down to every single human needs to do these 3 stretches every day for... What is it really for? Mobility? What is it? What are the benefits? Like, what are the outcomes?
2 different ways to stretch. One is to maintain the mobility that you have.
Okay.
So when I go through in the morning with like my little routine, it's basically maintaining range of motion because I'm not really holding anything. Maybe I'll do a couple reps like in and out of a stretch. And then if you just go and straight hold a stretch, that's where you're really trying to like improve and getting like the muscle spindles of that muscle to relax to allow more movement.
More flexibility.
Yeah. So the areas that I see people have the most difficulty with are definitely hip flexors.
Yep.
So getting in like that lunge, getting that leg behind you is a really good stretch, or getting like one knee down with one knee up, so they're both at like 90 degrees and pushing that hip forward to really stretch that hip flexor. That one's really good.
Why is it so important though? And I know I feel it's good. I can feel it stretching. I know flexibility is important, but why specifically that movement? Why is that so important?
Yeah. So we are creatures of the modern world that sit all day long, and we're at a desk. So our legs are just so used to being flexed. We got to get them behind us. So from there, our gait doesn't get to be as big, like our walking stride, then that's going to be smaller if your leg can't get behind you. I went to my daughter's cross-country meet, and I just want to stretch every one of those poor kids' hip flexors. Their strides are so short. They're used to being in their desks all day. It looks awful. And you know that poor social studies teacher leading the cross-country team isn't, big on biomechanics and stretching. They're just doing what they can.
Right.
But every single one of them, I wish I could have stretched their hip flexors.
Oh man, I didn't even correlate the two. When I see older, very elderly or aging people and their strides get shorter, I never correlated those two things.
Yep.
This one, you got to put your hip behind you.
Yep.
And it's because we sit so much.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I don't know who it was that says sitting is going to be the new smoking.
It is. Yeah.
It's literally the epidemic of our life right now is we sit too much. I know I do.
Yep.
I'm in front of a computer way too much. But I am at least cognizant of it, and I'm working harder at stretching most days.
Yep.
Of course, I'm not 100%, but
Right.
at least something is better than nothing, right?
Yeah. So standing up for at least a minute every 30 minutes that you're seated can help combat some of that. So if it's been 2 hours and you stand up for 5 minutes, it's not the same, right? The damage has been done over those 2 hours.
It hurts.
Yeah. So at least every 30 minutes, I'll tell my patients, even, if you get a phone call or you just stand up for a minute before you reply to that email, as you think on what you're going to reply. Any way you can just kind of sneak in, even just a quick stand kind of throughout those seated blocks.
I'm sorry, we're going to have to stand up because it's been over 30 minutes. That's it. Podcast is over.
Yeah.
It's canceled because they're all longer than 30
Everyone
minutes.
goes stretch.
Right now. Press pause, go stretch right now.
So, that can help combat some of those negative effects.
I love that. What are some other things? So you always do the hip flexor, stand up every 30 minutes.
Yep. And then I feel like people's shoulders, because again, we're hunched forward on our phones, on the computers. So getting in a doorway with your arms out, in the doorway to help stretch those arms back is really good. When you link your hands behind your back and roll those shoulders back, those are all really good stretches to help stretch out the chest and the front of the shoulders that we're all, again, just so modernized, where we're always forward on our desks and our phone and cooking or whatever we're doing all day. It's always forward. So we got to stretch those arms back also.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, how much, if we really started just being aware of how much we sit, how much we're forward, how much we're crumpled, how much we're this.
Just our posture in general.
Yeah, and then get it behind you, all of it.
Yep.
That's and it's easy to, you don't need a doctorate degree to do those things. You literally can stretch for what you suggest, like 10 minutes. Or what do you usually do?
I probably stretch about 10 minutes every morning.
Yeah.
And again, mine's just like working through the range of motion to maintain my mobility. I feel like as long as I'm getting my type of body work that I do, it helps me from being tight. So I just maintain it, or everything I do for that day, I'm assessing like, okay, no, I'm going to do rotation today. How's my rotation feel today? In my stretch, if it hurt, then I know, okay, maybe I better do legs today. Just switch it up, see how my body feels, learn how to listen to my body. That way I can change my workout accordingly.
That's really smart. I don't think most of us do that.
No.
We don't pay attention to our body. Like, how would you instruct somebody to do that? If I'm listening to my body and like, give me an example, because I'm not even sure what that means.
So, most people, just going into a stretch, right? You're going to feel that point in which you just start to feel the stretch. Then if you really push it, you can get to like a painful spot. So back it off. Okay, here's the start of a stretch, and here's like a painful spot. Here's a spot where I'm pushing, but it's not painful, right? So even finding those different little limits within stretching is good. In strength training, the muscle that you're targeting, if you're doing like a leg extension, do I feel this in my quads? Do I need to slow down to feel this like more in my quads? Or am I working on more momentum and just getting it done than actually slowing down to be more intentional with your movement?
Yeah, Christina taught me about that too. Just you don't have to do 15. There's no number that you have to do, and most of the time we can do less and less reps and slow it down for more benefit, right? Why is that?
Because you have to control it. And the faster you go, you're just working off of momentum and gravity. You're basically slowing it down from gravity, maybe. So if you're actually going slow and controlled, you're working against gravity through both ranges, through the eccentric and concentric phases of it. And then you're having to really stabilize to do it nice and slow. And the stabilization is where a lot of people just lose it.
Right. And then how important is that the older you get? I already know the answer, but maybe you could talk about what our muscles do as we get older. We don't need to think about it necessarily when we're 30 if we don't have any pain and we're going to the gym and everything's fine, quote unquote. But, at some point we're not going to be 30.
Right. So we're all losing muscle mass, I think, starting at age 30. So unless you're at the gym to build it and prevent that loss, you're just going to keep losing more and more of that muscle. Now, some people say, I don't want to look muscular. That's okay. That's not the point. The bigger point is when it comes down to the metabolism. The muscle fuels the metabolism, so we're able to eat like we're 20 still and not gain the weight. So most people complain at age 40, oh, I can't eat like I was when I was 20 because you don't have the same amount of muscle. If you increase that muscle, then you could eat more calories. Now, I still don't suggest you eat the junk food, but you'd still at least be able to be eating more calories and more food without gaining weight. So helping it maintain the muscle for your metabolism is important. The bone health, so you're not breaking your bones and you just fall or trip over things, is super important.
So when people break their hips, or elderly people, that's the most common break that takes them out, really. I mean, most of them, they can't recover from. I mean,
So
very common.
The statistic is 80% die within 6 months.
Of a broken hip?
Yeah, once you're elderly. I forget what age that is, but for you to have gotten so weak to fall, lose your balance, fall, not catch yourself, and then for your bones to have been so fragile to break, you're in such a bad position that you typically will not be around from there. And most, I think, within 2 years.
Because I always think of muscles and bones as two separate things. We've all been brainwashed to drink milk every day, which I know is marketing. It's crap. To strengthen your bones. Oh, you have to bones. So it's like it's totally separate than the muscle that's attached to the bone. But can you explain how the muscle mass, building the muscle mass, strengthens bones?
Yeah, so it's really funny because you can't really build bone strength after your 20s or puberty, or sometimes they say women can build while you're pregnant. I mean, it really changes. I think, when you're young, you have the maximum bone density you're going to have, and then you only lose it. But the stresses that you apply to it can help it get stronger. So weightlifting is pulling on the bones through the tendons, the muscle attachments, which helps put more stress on them to keep them stronger. So Wolf's Law, use it or lose it. We're using these bones, putting more stress on them, which is going to make them have to build stronger to be able to move that stress or that weight. So if you're not doing it,
so they're not as brittle, and so that they won't break.
Yes, yeah. Without it, you just get weaker in the muscle, weaker bones, and then
your balance is off.
Yeah.
So it's a trifecta, really, because just like you said, never thought of it that way. You can't break a hip unless you don't have the stability,
right.
so
if
that
you or
I
fall, we're not going to break our hip.
No,
right.
Won't break anything.
Yes.
And so then you also have to have fallen. And then the only way that you have fallen already is because your muscle mass is so already depleted so much, right?
Yep.
Otherwise you wouldn't fall.
Right.
And you'd be able to, stand on 2 feet.
Up, you'd have better balance, all of it.
And then the bones are brittle.
Yes.
Because of all three of those things.
But we can build more muscle all the time, right? So we should be focusing on that muscle, getting in enough protein. They say 30 grams 3 times a day for like adults is even good for metabolism, right? So everyone should be having at least 90 just for metabolism, but I mean, probably more if you're active.
Yeah.
But most people probably don't even get 90. So even if everyone shot for 90, that'd be such an improvement.
100%. I think my target, I can't remember, it's in MyFitnessPal. I think my target's 120.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yep.
And I'm really, some days are, it's easy to do it, but some days it's not. And depending on what you have going on, I got to get the protein shake in, or I won't be able to do it.
Oh yeah.
I already know that.
I use protein shakes a couple a day to keep mine up. Yeah. I think I try to get 150.
Wow. Yeah. It might be 150 because I'm tall. I'm trying to burn a little bit of fat, but maintain and, get down my body fat.
Yeah.
But that's, you're right on. That's exactly what my nutritionist says, is that you got to increase your protein.
Yep.
Oh man, this is so cool. I could ask 100 more questions. I love talking about the body. I love ways to improve your body. I love all things natural, holistic health, mind, body, get everybody feeling good and moving better. But I won't, because otherwise it'll go on for 10 hours. You probably have other things to do. So Christina, thank you so much for doing this, sharing so much wisdom and your story and your personal and being so vulnerable with us. I learned so much. I know our listeners got so much value out of this. How can people find you if they want to work with you?
Yep. The easiest way is through Instagram at TREX_PT. So my company is T-Rex PT.
Which is the best name of
And it's
any
an
cover.
acronym for therapeutic and restorative exercise because I help people really restore those movement patterns.
No, I don't like that. It's because people are like this with their arms. They have
Hunched
T-Rex
over.
arms, and then you fix them. I just think it's the
Maybe.
best name ever, T-Rex.
So that's the easiest way, or my website, www.trexpt.com.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Really appreciate you. And thank you, listeners and watchers, viewers. God bless you. Thank you for being here and listening to the show and supporting my show. And just remember, you can create the body that you love, the life that you love, just by taking it one day at a time. And God bless you.